My name is Jonathan Schaefer, and I'm here to make sure you are a finely tuned instrument. I'm a physical therapist of about 25 years, specializing with orchestral musicians, and today we're going to jump into violin players and viola players and see why they typically are having neck problems, headaches, and jaw problems. So if we look at a violin player, they are being tasked with having to stabilize their instrument with their neck and oftentimes with their jaw through their chin rest. And what they typically are doing is getting into a left rotated and left side bent position in their neck. That can become problematic. If we take a closer look at your neck, we're going to see that it's made up of 7 cervical vertebrae. The vertebrae are just areas where 2 bones come together and there's motion. There are 7 of these that the head sits on top of. What we want to do is focus in specifically to a very sensitive area called your upper cervical spine. And it's essentially your first 1, 2, 3 cervical vertebra. Now, I said before that this area is sensitive, and the reason is because a lot of motion happens here. Anytime there's a lot of motion in a joint area, that area is prone to being broken down, fragile, just a very, very sensitive, unstable area. So we want to make sure that area is as stable as possible. Violin players will tend to do that by locking their muscles out, and the muscles tend to go into spasm and guard, and that can become very painful. There's a lot of, if we look closer, we'll see that there's a lot of neurovascular areas of blood vessels and nerves that tend to become very, very irritated when we get into bad positions. The area is also very close to your jaw, and because of all of these reasons, this is a critical area to keep healthy. Okay, now that we know how important it is to have good upper cervical spine motion, how much it influences your jaw health, how much it influences your headaches, we want to make sure that you specifically have very good upper cervical spine motion, upper neck motion. So let's do that. Let's identify that. So firstly, I'm going to have you identify your upper cervical rotation C1, C2 motion, which should account for about 50% of your neck rotation. Again, a lot of motion that needs its stability because it's very fragile. So if we have you tuck your chin all the way down, it will lock out your cervical spine and only allow C1, C2, your upper cervical spine, to move. So let's do that. See how far, when you keep your chin tucked all the way down, you can turn your head. How far can you look towards your armpit? Also, do you feel any tightness? Do you feel any restrictions? If so, where? And make note of that. Now we're going to do the same thing to the other side. Again, are there any restrictions present? If so, where do you feel them? How far can you look? Can you look as far towards one armpit as the other? Great. Now that you've made note of that, let's look at your side bending motion. So I'm going to have you tilt your head just to the side until you feel the very first restriction. That's your upper cervical side bending motion. So we're not going to tip you all the way to the side because that goes past and through your neck. We're just going to tip enough that you feel that first restriction in one direction and the other. And again, make note, do you feel restrictions? If so, where? In which directions? Finally, we're going to combine the two. Turn your head to the left and tilt to the right. Turn your head to the right and tilt to the left. Good. Get a sense if there's restrictions there. So often there is. Now that we've identified those restrictions, and you should have those written down on paper, we're going to jump in and start to make your neck healthier. We're going to start to loosen up those restrictions. We're going to start to make your neck more stable. So if you guys are interested in this, please leave your comments below. I'll be happy to make this video for you. And I'm here again just to make sure you are a finely tuned instrument.